There we are.
Okay, we are live, and like I was telling Steve here, this is the first podcast I've done on my own here. So thanks to everybody for showing up. And what I had in mind is just have it kind of an open discussion, whatever you guys want to talk about, and see where it goes. I'm going to post the link here. See, a couple of folks there might want to jump in and see what we got. But there it is right there. So Steve was giving me a few pointers as we come on. I just met Steve the other night. He was on one of our Into the Void podcasts, I believe. Jumped on there.
I stepped into the after show.
The after show, okay. So we met there. Of course, we've had Brent on here before, and Bigfoot Okanagan, Leon there. Sean, we had Steenberg on here on Into the Void, me and Cornell's dual podcast, and Sean jumped in. Steenberg, Thomas, he got stuck in traffic and was about 30 minutes late, so Sean jumped in. Sean jumped in and helped us out quite a bit there, and then when Thomas got here, it turned into a really good show. So
yeah, Thomas is fantastic.
Yeah, there's Johnny Half. He's been on a lot of these. So I got an interesting picture from Cornell just a few minutes ago. Actually, he said should bring it up. A clearer picture of the river crosser that's been on some of the other YouTube channels, the one that's supposedly showing the Sasquatch crossing the river. And this picture clearly shows it is a man in waders and even a reddish shirt, and he's got gray hair. Do you know which one I'm talking about there? How do I put a picture up on here for
StreamYard is something I have not used from that side.
Okay, well, Cornell, he knows how to do that. So if he comes on here, he can.
What I understand is you would open up a browser and put the link that you want into the browser, and then you share that window.
Yeah, this is an actual picture he texted to me that was really good. There's Outdoor John.
Even if it's a picture, if you just open it up in a window, on the bottom of the screen there, I think you have something that says share.
Yes. Okay.
And it'll ask you for a window, and give it the window that you put the picture in.
Well, it says share screen or video file. I guess the share screen is the nope, it's not it. Yeah, I'd really like to show that picture there if I figure out how to do it. Because and I've noticed that here lately, if you make a picture of a man even walking in the park blurry enough, you can make a Bigfoot out of that person.
Oh, absolutely. It's the importance of the blurriness.
Yeah,
it's why you never see these videos in the best resolution.
Right. And
because
that's always
obviously a guy crossing a river in waders. Well, that's not interesting, but if we blur it up enough, wow, that could be a Bigfoot.
Right. And I've noticed on some of them, all the footage is clear as a bell until it gets to the Bigfoot. And then it's seen the comment one time that all the pictures of Bigfoot are blurry because Bigfoot is blurry. So that's so all you guys in the chat, kind of what I had in mind. If you got questions on your mind or something you'd like us to talk about, then just say it in the chat. Sean, Brent, let's see who else.
Preferably something more interesting than porcupines.
Yeah, that horse has been kicked enough. I think let's move on to something a little of more interest, so anyway, yeah. So Steve, how long have you had your channel up?
I started it just a little bit before the public health crisis came up,
Okay.
and I got back into looking into Bigfoot only about a year or so before that. And where Leon got into the Bigfoot social media thing from the inside, I'd been looking at it for several months and realized that it's how do I want to put this? It's an unclean place.
Oh yeah, yeah, it certainly can be.
And so I went around with I entered the Bigfoot community with waders. And was just kind of cautiously looking around and realized that there was a lot of room for truth and a lot of room for integrity. And a lot of the people who are really serious about Bigfoot don't touch social media at all, and I don't blame them at all.
Right. Yeah, I've stayed away, and several of my friends and subscribers have told me you need to get a Bigfoot Facebook page, you know, and I have avoided on purpose Facebook like the plague. A lot of the
it's good for communication.
It is, and I can see the point, but I have a lot of people on there. I see their names. They know what I do for a living. I have a retail music store. I sell guitars and things like that. And 90% of the things that I see people that come in that are mad at each other about is something someone said on Facebook. and I have a Facebook page for my music store that I use strictly for advertising. And it's excellent for that. But I don't allow the gossipy, you know, and God help me, I'm not going to let anybody talk politics on there, especially in this day and age, you know.
So I have a Facebook account, but I also have a Facebook page, Curious Cryptid. And except for the fact that I'm pretty open about who I am, you can't really trace that Facebook page to me.
Oh, okay.
I don't particularly hide it, but when you're in a Facebook page, your identity isn't necessarily connected with that page. You can use that page for communication.
Here, this tenacious Deanne Smith. I agree. I don't bother with Facebook. I'm rarely on it anymore. The real world is way more interesting, and I agree with that. But I can also see the point. The gentleman, he was on Cornell and I's show here the other night, Will Star, and he started. He's one that's really encouraged me to do a Facebook page, and his channel has grown exponentially through that. So I see the point, but in the past, I've always said, I don't like Facebook. Everybody that I want to talk to, I go talk to them, you know. But I mean, YouTube itself is a type of social media. I mean, what we're doing right now, but
yeah, well, I'm completely misusing YouTube. I don't care about the algorithm. For me, it's a way to post the media and the essays that I want to share that are relevant to things that are going on that I'm talking about. I'm not trying to get lots of subscribers. If you like the media that I'm publishing, subscribe.
Yeah, and I said that the other night. I made the comment that if I was really trying to make money, I would get rid of the Bigfoot stuff and make videos of cats playing the piano or something.
Yes, you know? Or if you wanted to make money at Bigfoot, all you have to do is dump the truth and start making up stuff.
Yeah.
And you can make up anything you want and people will buy it.
Especially, and I know somebody's probably going to jump on me for this, you can especially make up stuff about old stuff if the people involved are conveniently dead now.
Yes, yes.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Not there to defend themselves.
Right. Western New York Bigfoot, he's saying about Facebook. He said, I have both. I keep it real in both places. It's a balance. And that's a good point. It is a balance. And, I'm not saying I won't eventually get a Facebook deal in this, but I've sure been fighting it tooth and nail.
Yeah.
But that is a good point.
There's been a lot of talk. You've probably seen if you've watched some of the groups that we've been talking about. There's been a lot of talk about the entertainment side versus the real Bigfoot side.
Okay, we got some unsavory characters trying to get in here. I'm just going to have to let him,
Oh no!
And then we got this, and then we got a Canadian trying to push us him too.
There goes the neighborhood.
Oh man! Hey Leon, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Great to see you, Steve. And you, Dave, and you, Cornell.
Thank you. What's my internet like? Because I'm stealing the Wi-Fi from the bar downstairs.
You sound really quiet.
You actually seem to have a better connection than Dave.
Is that any better?
Can y'all hear me pretty good?
Yeah, both your. Go ahead, Steve.
Am I Dave. Very clear now, Steve.
Yeah, it's your picture that's been a little bit degraded, which tells me you might have a bandwidth problem.
I can't help that. I literally do live in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I'm not in a township. Anything I get out here is through satellite dishes. I'm 30 miles from town. I mean, there have literally been Bigfoot sightings not more than a couple of miles from my house. Unfortunately, I was not the one involved in those. But hey, Cornell, before you came on, I was talking to Steve a little bit about the picture that you sent me earlier. How do I get that up on the screen? The creek wader. You've seen that, haven't you, Leon?
Yeah.
About the Bigfoot crossed the creek or whatever. Cornell texted me a picture, and it clearly, you could see is in this picture a man with waders, and he's got gray hair. I mean, it's so obvious.
It's a real clear picture. He's a black guy.
And
it's the clearest picture I've ever seen of it. You would have to send that
picture up there.
Yeah, you would have to send it to your email, then download it to your desktop and open it
I've done that.
as a photograph.
Yeah, I've got it saved into my pictures on my computer now. I did download it.
Oh, well, open that window and then hit share on the
open
bottom
which
of the
window?
studio.
Oh, on the studio, the one that says share.
Open the picture in a window.
Yeah, just open the picture.
Okay, let me get there because this is so obvious. Let's see. Picture.
Well, we're covering new ground here.
Yeah, it's probably
the
same old,
today.
It's probably the same old guy that was in Thinker Thunker's video that he shaded all.
Oh, it is. It's the same one. Okay, it's open now. What do I do with it?
Go to share. Click share.
Click share below your profile picture there. With the blue thing says you're in the show.
Wait. Okay, my profile picture.
You'll see it right now. You should be looking at yourself in a camera that has a blue box says you're in the show. You see that? And then below that, you'll see the share button right in the middle on the right side of the blue box. If you go straight down from the blue box, you'll see share with a little plus sign in a window screen.
Yes. Open that, and it asks for share screen or video file.
Share screen.
Screen.
Okay.
And all the options should come up on what you have opened in the background.
Okay, it says screen sharing is easiest in 2 monitors, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, ignore that.
Okay.
So you
now I've got it open.
Do you see the picture?
So there's a little drop box that says window or screen. If you click on that, it'll give you a list of windows and screens. one of those has your picture in it.
Yes, I see that.
Then click
Click
on
on
the
that.
picture.
Okay. Oh, the picnic. Okay, never mind.
Don't.
Yeah, I'll totally mess this up. Window. Here we go. Share. There it is. Can you see it?
Not yet. Sometimes it takes a couple of minutes. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. There you go.
Can you
There you
enlarge
go.
it?
Oh, you just got rid of it. You just closed it.
Yeah,
Oh,
do it
click
again.
on it and then enlarge the actual picture that you have opened. Go back to the picture itself while we're looking at it and just
Okay.
magnify in
I know
on
how to get
it.
there now. Yeah, I know how to get there now. So
It's
It
so
took me a
nice.
couple of tries at the start.
It's so nice to see seniors learning.
all right. Now, how old are you now?
Are you on my face? I'm on my face. Your mother's on my face. It's not called my face. It's called MySpace. Oh, sorry.
Okay, here it comes. Okay, see it? Right.
Now, if you go into that picture, just kind of forget about us or minimize us or something and just zoom in on that pic, it'll zoom in on the screen.
Oh, that's not the one. You're looking for the magnifying glass with the plus sign. You just minimized it, so you have to click on it to enlarge it again so it's on the screen for us, Dave.
I'm getting there.
You take all the time you need. Where's my pablum? Nurse, where's my medication?
Yeah.
You're being so bullying.
I'm sorry. At my
feel
age, I
bullied.
can't tell anymore. It's my dementia.
I can also send it to myself.
I was going to say, actually, Cornelia, you could just probably do it too. But I mean, this is a good thing for Dave to learn because he needs to know it.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm learning it on y'all's time here. Share.
Okay, let me see that.
That's okay. It's something we'll all be able to laugh about later.
Yeah, when do you start having to share videos and stuff?
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Success.
So
now
up to the top left. Up to the top left, you'll see a magnifying glass next to the plus sign. Click on that a few times, and that'll bring the picture closer to us.
Yes.
There you go. There you go, buddy.
There you go. That's it. Yeah.
Now you can clearly see the waiters. A red shirt. It's a darker skinned man with white hair.
Yeah.
How do you think that's a Bigfoot?
It's
I don't think I saw
Bigfoot
this.
mimicking a black guy.
Yeah. I never saw this picture before. I saw the other picture, but I never saw it this clear. So they've been hiding it from us purposefully.
Where did you get it, Cornell?
Somebody just posted on our Facebook page, and yeah, and I'm like, wow, I haven't saw that before.
Pulling it up. I mean, you would have to purposely really blur that to make that become a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Well, also the original is a segment of video, so this is probably just one frame out of that video that's unusually clear.
Right. Somebody just sat and went through it all and just took this frame. So no doubt this will be making the rounds now.
Yeah, that's got to make the rounds. But how many people do you think are still going to think it's a Bigfoot?
You know what someone posted today on our Facebook is the Bigfoot jumping down the hill and the guy runs away. You know, that band that used Bigfoot as their on stage kind of Eddie?
Yeah, that's Sean, the producer. Young guy.
Right. Someone posted it today again and they all started arguing about it. Like, how many times do I have to do this? Yeah. Jesus. You know.
So you guys
comments. I want to see what
Cornell is are you guys hearing Cornell clearly? Because I hear him kind of tinny.
That's because Cornell is tinny.
Okay, that
I
explains.
think he's okay.
I'm having internet
Oh, okay.
problems.
Because Steve, you sound good. Dave sounds good, and then Cornell sounds like he's talking into one of those canned telephones we did when we were kids with strings attached.
I remember those. Is it any better?
I can hear you good, Cornell. It's not the quality you usually have, but it's clear.
Yeah, it's the internet, plus I'm using a new mixer, and I still haven't gotten used to it.
Oh.
Leon, stop bullying Cornell.
Oh, you guys! I thought we weren't talking about the prickly topic.
Well, we're not. We're not.
Okay, good.
But prickly topic.
Yeah. Okay, let's see who we got over here. Hey, if anybody over in chat wants to ask a question or so, this is the idea, is an open forum tonight. Or at least that's what I had in mind. We see where it goes. But well, I've learned something new tonight anyway. I learned how to put a picture up there that other people can see. And I learned without doubt that Bigfoot crossing the river is a man in waders.
I kind of have a topic. You want to
go
with it? Well, because we're noticing the wave kind of happening now online, and that's going to have an effect on a lot of the wave. The wave is the critical thinking instead of just mindless thinking. And if you're a channel that is switching over to the kind of the scientific method or healthy skepticism style of a channel, and it's kind of tougher because the population online at this point, it'll change, but at this point is kind of all in the same kind of sandbox. And so if you were to invite guests over, whereas before, you could just do that, but kind of when you become awakened in regards to the scientific method, and then you kind of learn what it means to be a healthy skeptic and a critical thinker, you can't kind of pretend anymore. So it makes it kind of tougher for people who have channels that maybe used to operate that way, but they just can't pretend anymore. And I was wondering your guys' advice or thoughts on how to negotiate that if you had a channel where you have to stay true or go back to why you have your channel. So, mine's always been to be as honest as I possibly can in regards to the research and the data, and fess up if I'm wrong. I did that 5 years ago, so I'm kind of planted pretty solidly in that declaration to why I'm online. And then you get the sway sometimes when you have a channel and it's starting to grow, and then you have people in chat and they kind of care for you and they back you, and then that kind of affects your channel a bit because you want to keep those subscribers and still influence them, but you don't want your channel to lose its direction by the sway of the audience. And I've had a few people kind of talk to me about that right now. They're kind of trying to figure that out, that little dilemma of, do you ask certain people that you once perceived as being pretty solid onto your channel, and then you're kind of not sure if that was a good idea because you kind of shifted, you become awake a bit more, and you want to ask these tougher questions, but you want to stay out of the politics. So just kind of curious what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Well,
for me, it's been, I never went totally crazy into the woo side or anything. I just had encounters on, and then slowly, had more researchers and stuff on. So mine was a slow kind of a thing, and it wasn't dramatic. So I didn't lose anybody, and I didn't have to make some big shift because I was already kind of skeptical in my head anyway. And a lot of people voiced the same opinion on my page. Now, there's some people that I had on here that had encounters that I look back on now and I'm like, I don't believe them, but I'm leaving them up there because I still don't 100% know. So I never made a dramatic shift, but I know what you mean about the wave. It's like there's also a pyramid. I'm thinking of drawing this pyramid where you have all the celebrities at the top and you keep going down the pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid, you have all the people on the Facebook groups that just believe everything they see. And then at the very top, you have, all the Matt Moneymakers and the not even Matt Moneymaker. No, he'd be in the next. To the top would be Jeff Meldrum. People like that.
Oh yeah.
And it's not in order of what you believe; it's just in order of influence.
Yeah, and
who's
again,
influenced the Bigfoot world.
word you're using there, Cornell, belief. I mean, there's an aspect within this. It's almost like a religious type thing to people. Thomas Steenberg. Yeah, I'm being polite. Thomas Steenberg hit on that a little bit about how it's almost like they're being preached to. I'd have to go back and see word for word, but he was going into the same thing. And a case in point, and if anybody's in the chat that was watched this the other night, the whole thing with the Bluff Creek Massacre thing, which I've always thought just was total bunk. Thomas actually went through piece by piece on where that originated, how it got started, and all that. And I thought after that ought to just be cut and dried. But no, the people that still believe it with a almost religious fervor.
Did Thomas tell you this one, that a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth gets to pull its pants on?
Yeah, I think he did.
No doubt. Hey, I want to get to this question here before I lose something else. What do you guys think about the Utah snowplow seeing a supposed Bigfoot?
I haven't seen it.
Do y'all know what?
Yeah.
You know
have to pull it up for us. You have to pull it up for us, Dave. Another chore for you.
I think it's fantastic.
Well, it's not.
I've never seen it.
All
but
right,
I'll just say that.
I don't. All right.
I'll go by the I'll go by the standby line of I haven't seen it, but I believe it already. How about that?
Somebody
use that
said
standard.
the other night.
Sounds rational.
When we had Leon the other night on, and I can't remember if this came to me in an email or if it was in chat, said it would be really neat if Leon had a puppet. So when he done his other person voice, you know?
Yeah.
But on the Utah snowplow seeing supposed to be, I saw that, and it's so out of focus, blurry behind the snowy trees, it could be anything. So I'm not going to say yes, no, whatever. Bluff Creek Massacre, oh boy, what a crack that is. I thought I saw something here.
See, that almost
and this
jolted the wave, Leon, didn't it? Like things like the Bluff Creek Massacre and stuff that we see online that we totally don't agree with. That gets the wave energized almost, and more people are like, enough of this crap. I want to listen to what these guys over here are saying, and that's why you've had an influx lately.
Yeah, and I think the last year, the thing is, there's been 3 really brutal stuff that's happened, and that the MK Davis was the first one, and the other one was Bigfoot Tony leaving the scene over what he found out about Thinker Thunker. And then the whole thing with the name of the porkiness that we won't mention. Because it gets to the point when it's so obvious. All 3 are evidence that are so obvious that you're asking us not to see what we're seeing and hearing what we're hearing and knowing what we're knowing. And that's insulting to the viewer. Don't tell me that is this when I know exactly what that is. Don't tell me it's this because I'm hearing a narration when somebody does great work like Jason from Big Fat Tony, when he shows obviously this has been tampered with, and he shows you why it's been tampered with. And the thing is, again, when the shift happens in a culture, that's what ends up happening. Is everyone can't pretend that the emperor has no clothes on. I can't remember what show I was on the other day there when I said that phrase, and it's like, no, you better keep that kid quiet. Look, mommy, the emperor doesn't have any clothes on. Shh. Are you trying to get us blocked? Are you trying to get us kicked off the channel? You don't say that. You say what they say. Well, you can't. It would drive you mad, right? So
there is that challenge, and I don't know if challenge is the right word. I mean, you either want to put things on as truthfully as you can to your knowledge, or you want to try to get a bunch of hits, and where's that happy medium where your channel can be entertaining enough, people want to see it, but you still don't put a bunch of crud on there. And that's
I think it's one of the other.
Ivan Marks syndrome. I think goes into some of the other stuff. And, I had been using that term for a few years, and I knew it wasn't mine. And I found out who come up with it when Thomas Steenberg was on here. I said, "Did you coin that term?" He said, "Yes, I did." I said, "Well, thank you." But basically, that says, a guy may start out, have some legitimate, compelling evidence of these creatures, and he gets some attention with it. And I'm not putting this on any particular person. I'm generalizing, but then that attention goes away, so they start to fabricate some things. Ivan Marks done that to the point where you even wonder if anything he came up with was legit or not. And I thought he found the Bosberg cripple footprints, but Thomas was saying that Rennie DeHenden was actually the one that found those. And then, of course, later on, we had the Ivan Marks videos of the Bigfoot with the hanging testicles dipping water out of the swamp.
Ivan Marks syndrome on steroids is the Discovery Network.
Yep.
Produce.
Yep.
Right. Okay, we're triggering somebody here. Western New York is triggered.
Actually, I wanted some clarification. The snowplow driver, is that the 2011 sighting, or is that supposed to be something recent?
Yeah, because I can't find it.
I don't know. I just remember it in passing. I just saw something about a play, and I don't even remember what channel. It was not interesting to me enough that I went back and looked at it again. It was
well, you're so judgmental.
I'm making we all are. Everybody's judgmental. We all got to make judgments according to. I try to be judgmental without being a jerk. That's people have said before that I was not very opinionated. I said, "Oh, I'm extremely opinionated. I just usually keep them to myself." But
I said in one of my essays that judgment is probably the favorite hobby of Homo sapiens.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention we're actually wired to do it, so it makes it if you don't know.
I got
go ahead.
This is funny when he said Homo sapien. I remember years ago, my aunt, she's a sweetheart, and I was talking about Homo sapiens, and she's a country girl, and she was aghast because she thought I was talking about homosexuals. I'm like, no. I said, no, homo is man, sapien is clever or smart, so I explained that so she learned something there, but I almost couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, why is she looking so aghast that I'm talking about that,
You keep using that word. I'm not sure it means what you think it means.
I wonder.
No, yes, Cornell.
What's that?
Cornell texted me.
Oh, you're just getting it now.
Hey, I told you guys I live out in the middle of nowhere. I just got a text from Cornell that he sent about 20 minutes ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So anywho, what else we got over here? I have to defer.
No, JC's here.
Yes. Yeah. And we can see what she chats.
We're watching you, JC.
Western New York, shaming and blaming is a central tool of us versus them manipulation. That, and I keep going back to our podcast with Thomas Steenberg, and I guess his superpower was back in the day, he managed to be friends with all of those people with vastly differing opinions on stuff and not get caught in the crossfire. So that's, he pulled off something I don't really know if anybody else has done.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
Well, again, and I
usually don't bother.
Yeah, Steve, totally.
Well, I mean, if you're really, to really research something, follow the evidence where it goes. If it turns out that your thing turns out that it was, I don't know, raccoons fighting in the woods or something like that, like what Cornell recorded. And we couldn't really tell. It was so distant. But when he got it back, he's like, oh, it's raccoons. You listen to it? Yeah, it was when he pulled that up. But had we ran with that and kept insisting, no, that was Sasquatch having a tussle with each other, then we'd be looking pretty silly by now. But I mean, follow it where it goes. But I tell you, it goes, and I will say that I coined this term. This is why people get upset, because nobody likes it when you kill their unicorn.
Yep.
And there's a lot of truth to that. And I talked about this the other night. There was a skeleton found somewhere around here back in the early 90s, and it was partial rib cage, neck, partial skull, missing the lower jaw. And it was a strange looking deal. It's even in a treasure hunting book called Mysterious Oklahoma or something like that. And they called it The Story of Ralph. They said they had it tested at OU, and they said it was bipedal, it was a carnivore, it was this. And I'm looking at the pictures I have, and I figured out that's not the rib cage of a biped. That's not the hips of a biped. And later on, just like last year, I got pictures that were a lot closer, that a person actually holding it was able to determine it was the remains of a white-tailed deer, that something had chewed the front of its nose part off. Okay, it was a skeleton, and a lot of it was missing. But even after that, people I talked to around here are still like, no, that was a chupacabra. There's still people here. I'm not talking about on the net. I'm talking about people that I know personally. No, that's saying it's a white-tailed deer. That's a government cover-up. I'm like, it's not the government. I'm the one that came up with that. But that was these folks' unicorn, and they sure didn't like it when I killed that unicorn.
Well, you're just a government shill.
Yeah. If I am, I sure am not getting paid enough. So.
Yeah, what I have said from time to time is the road to reason is littered with the shattered remains of cherished truths and the remains of those who can't let them go.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that those remains will become lesser and lesser as things move forward now. But I'm hopeful.
Well, I was starting to talk about what some people have tried to characterize as the divide between the entertainment side and the science side, and
right.
I don't think that's necessarily a good way to put it, or a good way to look at it.
Yep.
In our economy, a huge amount of media purchases are made for fiction. It's for entertainment. There are reasons for that. We need to keep our minds busy with things. That doesn't mean you can't also be interested in objective truth and still like the stories from time to time.
Yeah,
I do. I still love Sasquatch Chronicles, absolutely. But I listen to it with a little more prejudice than I did before. But some of those guys on there seem pretty credible, Others, you just don't know. But they've got some, like the Mike Woolley encounter was fantastic. I really thought that guy was credible.
I like your positive outlook, Leon.
Thanks, Aaron. I've been through a lot of brutality, and I figured I want to smile when I die and not be a bitter old bastard. So it takes a bit of a talent to keep the smile on, I'll tell you, but not an act. It's not an act for sure. So
I watched Jay's movie the other night that he recommended, The Dark Divide. Did you guys see it yet?
I'm not sure. That's an older movie, isn't it?
No, I don't think so.
No,
how old is it?
Looks like it's the last 10 years.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's about some famous butterfly hunter whose wife dies of cancer, and he goes into the mountains of Washington, I think it is. I think it's I don't know what mountain it is in Washington. What's the really famous? Not Mount Washington, it's the other one. Rainier.
Rainier, yeah.
Well, he
Rainier.
goes into the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest.
Okay. And he has
That'd
these
be around
fleeting
St.
glimpses of
Helens or Adams.
Sasquatch and whoops and stuff, and that's kind of the theme. It's not really the central theme, but that's the running in the background the whole time. And he's telling himself, no, that's nonsense. And he keeps coming across people who hint at it. I don't want to give the movie away, but now he goes around the country lecturing on butterflies and wildlife biology and Bigfoot. So now he's a believer. He didn't actually see one, but he found prints and, had all these experiences. It's actually a really good movie. Let me see when it's from.
While you're doing that, look, good question here. What do you guys make of the Mississippi skunk ape video showing an alleged Bigfoot tearing into a tree?
Oh, yeah.
Leon, what do both of you say? I say
Well,
both
that's
of him because he's got the other person voice too,
I got a few more than just those two.
Oh,
2000. No. Sorry.
I don't know. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, Brent's saying it
It
just came
looks
out this
good.
year.
What was that, Steve?
Brent's saying that movie just came out this year.
Oh,
2020.
yeah, I haven't seen that. I'll have to look that up. But
yeah, that video was pretty good. I'm surprised the guy didn't try to do something to whistle or something to get its attention.
He did. He was whistling.
I don't remember him whistling. I remember
Yeah,
him
that's
filming.
exactly. No,
Unless
that's
I'm thinking-
exactly what he was doing.
Maybe I'm thinking about a different video. Are you
Yeah.
talking about the one where it shows it close to it and it's pulling the chunks off the stump?
Yeah,
or the
that
side
one.
of
Oh,
the
I'm
tree?
talking about the dark
yeah, off
divine.
of it. It's a cypress. It's like ripping the side off a cypress tree. Wait, what's happening here?
We have two conversations with two different
yeah.
thinkings. He's
I
thinking
forgot
about the
about the
movie.
Mississippi.
He's thinking
Yeah.
about the movie, and you and I are talking about this Mississippi skunk ape. So not only is there a lapse in time as we're talking, there's lapse in thinking capacity for everybody, including me.
Well, the
I'm
guy
not
in
judging.
Mississippi Skunk Ape video was terrified, wasn't he? He just ran away.
Well, I don't know. He was filming it pretty good there for a while, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying as like if that was happening in front of me, I would have ducked down, kept the camera on. I kept my camera aimed so I could make sure I was seeing it, and I would have made a noise to see what its reaction would have been to get it to turn, or position myself differently. I would have tried to position myself differently too. But it's a pretty good one. It makes you fall. It's like that one you're talking about. Yeah, the red cedar psycho. Oh, what's his name there? The guy who's the one that jumping down the hill chasing after the guy. I mean, if that's what that one, when you look at that, it's pretty bad when hoaxed videos look so good that they outdo the so-called real video footages that are all too blurry. Like that evidence would be more is what we're looking for. If it can't be like that hoaxed one, that clear, that long, all that kind of stuff, it's a waste of our visual time because it's not really going to move us forward one iota. So, but anyways, that's my thoughts on that video. Steve, what about you? Do you remember which one he's talking about?
If it's the one I'm remembering, I've not often seen the whole thing up to the point where he runs away. The figure stands up, and that's usually the end of the video from the clips that I've seen. So I've seen clips that people have borrowed from the original.
Right. Yeah.
And recycled. And recycled video of Bigfoot is almost always recycled video of hoaxed Bigfoot.
But yeah, I agree with Leon that it looks good, but man, it's almost like you see, and this is just stating the obvious. It's like there's a contest to see who can make the best Bigfoot hoax video on YouTube.
Well, I want to ask a bit more. Is that video the same video? Because there's another one out there, and I don't know if I'm getting two videos mixed together, where the guy films it. Then he goes over to where it was, and he finds these nuts and stuff with a rock that's crushed the nuts the Sasquatch was working on. Is this the same video?
No, unless
because that
you've seen a longer one.
That was a pretty good one too, because he films it, and then runs away. Then he goes after it. Then he stops in the locations where it was at, and he finds they're kind of like walnuts or something, and they've been smashed. And there's a rock there that it's crushed with, and you can see where it's sat. I mean, those are good. I mean, I'm a little more cynical now, unfortunately, after being online for 5 years. It's not that I don't want to believe. I do want to believe, but I'm so tainted with so much narration of garbage that I don't want that also to be my own cognitive dissonance.
There you go, Leon.
So
there you go.
Okay.
Word no. Sean said no. That was Timber Giant, not the same.
Thanks, Sean. See,
So-
this is why it's good to have a community of people who are actually interested in education, because you can use them as
No
resources
kidding.
on a show live. It's great. I don't know.
Well,
why that's
here you
the
go.
plan.
Malcolm says the real ones are the blurry ones.
Oh.
Malcolm's actually a friend of mine. He lives not far down the road from me. Real ones are blurry.
Well, I'm waiting to see an experiment that Matt was going to do at Central Florida Bigfoot. He was going to buy the same camera that was used in the Patterson Gimlin film and put it on a mount right next to a variety of different cameras, modern cameras like a 4K GoPro.
Well, that's cool.
And look at the quality of the video that comes out versus the quality from the acetate film.
Would he
This
have to wait?
question: what about the California July 4th Bigfoot mom with baby around a boulder field and pines?
Oh,
Authentic?
Leon, take this one.
Yep, Leon. This is Leon's.
Fresh off the presses, garbage. 100% garbage, made by a fella because he was offered by the BBC $100,000 if he can produce a suit that would look the same as Patty, and so he needed some film footage. There's more than just that film with it that's out there, but he needed film footage to show that how real it actually looks, and he did a pretty damn good job. So, but it turned. If you went to Bigfoot Okanagan, look up a video that says, "Sorry, it's just the COVID. It's no big deal. No, I won't cough on you guys." But if you look up a video, well, this is a great disappointment. Sasquatch videos we once thought were real turned out to be fakes. It's actually on that one there, and it tells you the person and who it is, and you can do more research on it. And it's disappointing. That's the problem with it. When I did that video, it was disappointing. All these videos, every one of those videos I showed to, I got sucked right into like everyone else did.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that you reveal your stupidity sometimes. Gullibility is a better word, not stupidity. Because we all have a chance of being gullible, especially when we want it to be what we're thinking it might be. So
Well, we also use stupidity a lot in ways that I don't like because of the way social media works and the way the algorithm is designed and the way everything is designed to grab and hold on to your attention. Your capacities over time, your capacity for thinking clearly is actually reduced over time. Yes. I used to joke about watching shows on the Discovery Channel and feeling my IQ bleed away, but no, it's actually literally true.
Yeah, and your attention span is so short that it can't move longer to really see what you're looking at, because you get bored too quickly in your thinking process. And that's just hammering our neural net pathway right now. Short thinking is a good idea. Maybe if you're watching a cat video or a cutesy dog video, but not if you're looking for research. I mean, like Thomas said, you can't do a series with him, because who wants to watch a weekly series of him walking down a creek for an hour, pointing, not seeing anything? Research takes time, and it always has taken time. And the scientific method, time is its friend. It's not its enemy. In our culture, in our society, and on the online scene, it's our enemy. We need to produce content. We need to produce content. And it's like, I'm like Steve. I don't care. I think Steve and I are about the same right now. I think 4 months ago was the last time we put out a video. Well, that's not true. I put out a couple just recently, but it's been like 3 months till they did that, because I'm not in any big hurry, and I don't think people should be. So,
Bob had made a good point. What I always thought about that video of the Bigfoot in the boulder field that we talked about earlier, kind of looked like it ran with a little puppet. And I noticed that then about the little baby it picked up. Looked awfully well like a little puppet or so.
It looked like those monkeys you used to get that was a puppet, and you would put the arms around your neck and its legs around your waist, and you pick it up like this, and you would go like that. That's what it looked like. But it was good. I mean, honestly, it's a good video. If you saw it, you got primed by the whole thing of the Sasquatch, and you're online looking for it, and you saw that, you'd go, The other interesting thing about the video, it's supposed to have a baby, but it's a male carrying the baby. Most people don't catch that.
Well, maybe
it's fill in the blank. It's a female picking up her offspring. It's not a female. It's a male.
Maybe it was his turn to watch the kids.
Maybe, but I heard that there was a good football game on that weekend, and I don't think a male Sasquatch would let her tell him what to do.
Hey, what
actually,
about
no,
this,
I can see a female Sasquatch telling him what to do.
What about this other video? And I think this was out of Florida. As a guy took it, I think Thomas, was it Thomas or Lee or Sean brought it up the other night, taken from a kayak. It looks like a Bigfoot or so over in the cypress, like going after a snake or something. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, that's probably like the Mississippi skunk ape one.
Do what?
That's right, like the Mississippi skunk ape one. It's kind of the same distance away and stuff, and it's in the trees. Yeah,
Sean,
I don't know about that one either.
Yeah, Sean, what's the name of that video? Do you remember? Can you let us know?
I don't remember
it, but that was a long. No, it was Thomas that brought it up, but Sean knows
Thomas
what I think. Yeah, and that was a while ago, so sometimes I just can't. I remember it, but I can't remember it today in my.
Hey, here you go.
Lettuce
skunk ape footage.
I'll tell you,
we've got a knowledgeable crew on here.
The most convincing thing I ever saw, well, one of the most convincing things, and not many people caught this, and I haven't seen it do the rounds on Facebook, is this. I think it was up in Canada somewhere, and it was a little native kid, and he had been out in his backyard, and his backyard like goes down into a kind of a valley with a river and stuff, and he had been outside and he caught a picture of this being on. He caught two pictures of it. So, and it was positioned in two different ways. It was down and then it was up. It was down in the haunches, then it was up. And it was about maybe 50 yards. And it was just a black figure. And it looked like a Sasquatch, not like a guy in a suit. And his uncles or the village elders or something came to him and told them, asked him to show them where it went. And they went down and tracked it and stuff down to the beach down below. And just the little kid's reaction, he was about maybe 8 years old. He was scared shitless. And it showed you the photograph at the end that he caught, because he actually went back into the house after seeing this thing and came back out with his little iPad and took a couple of pictures of it. And I'm going to try to find that and bring it up on my YouTube page, because I thought that was pretty unique, that one.
I just want to comment of JC. I didn't have to look under the hood. I was looking above the hood. That told me it was a male, not a female. Okay, so I'm looking at this footage.
It was not a female mammal.
This is correct. Thanks.
Oh,
Steve.
right. I didn't notice that at all. I don't know why.
But if you look back on it, you can see, especially when it walks by the rocks there's nothing there. Okay, I'm looking at this one, the Lettuce Lake one. And come on, Dave, you should be pulling these up for us, man. Come on, get on it, buddy.
You got to open up YouTube in the background and then do the same thing, share screen. Open up another tab with YouTube on it. Takes a while to get used to it. It's finicky.
All right, I'm on it. Lettuce, okay. Lettuce Lake. What?
Bigfoot. That should bring it right up. Or skunk ape. Ape.
Yeah, let's see.
I put Lettuce Lake skunk ape. Yeah.
Okay, got it right here.
It says compelling footage of possible skunk ape Bigfoot from Lettuce Lake Park, Florida, on the video.
Okay.
A lot of writing. If you get to the 43-second mark, I think it starts showing it. Cropped footage, it says.
And there's a little thing at the bottom says share audio too. Make sure that's clicked.
Yeah, on your white screen when you're about to share audio. Click that box.
I learned all this because I did that thing with Jeff Harding that night, and he had lots of visual evidence to show me. And I had it all lined up, opened up, and pictures in the background so I could just go to it. He taught me how to do it.
Do I share video file or share screen?
Yeah. No, screen.
Screen and window.
You'll see the browser you need in the background.
It's okay. No, it's got us on there. It's not got that.
Steve, what are you laughing at?
JC's last comment.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I can't bring it from another. For some reason, it's pulling up our.
It's
pulling
what?
us up.
You should have
It's
it
just
open in
pulling
another
us
window.
up. It's not. Well, I did. Hold on, let me. So I have to click on the video itself.
Well, once it comes up.
Did I
think so.
Stop sharing. Okay. Try that again. So I have to click on the actual video itself, like to play it. Okay.
I can't remember.
I think I got it now. It's only about 20-something seconds. Share screen.
I have it if you want me to share it.
Oh, you can share. That's right. We can all share.
Can you?
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Well, shoot. Well, how about that?
Did you want me to share it? Or?
Yeah, go
Yes,
ahead,
please.
Leon. I would only. My mouse isn't connected. I just have this crappy. I hate those touch thick mices. Mice.
Mices.
Mices.
Oh, wait a second. Put stop screen. Oh, 1 second, please. Your call is important to me. Share screen.
Yeah, Leon, pretend like you're having some trouble with it, so I'll feel a little bit better.
I am having some problems with it, but I'll see if I can correct my problem.
You know what? I was also thinking about this, about Patty. I know Patty's been discussed to death, but some people say that Patty looked like an older female, right? She was like, middle-aged.
Well, how do they know that?
I think just she was kind of frumpy and her breasts were hanging like socks and, a couple of tennis balls and socks. That type of thing.
What? Well,
did you ever hear of that? No.
They don't. I don't think Bigfoot has a bra, so I don't.
True. I'm going to invent one of those Bigfoot bras. But somebody said that she looked like a frumpy older female.
Frumpy. There you go with that frumpy British word again.
Frumpy.
It's so frumpy. Isn't that frumpy, everybody? Look how frumpy that is.
Is that just a British thing?
Oh, no. Well, it is in their old 80s shows.
Yeah. That's where I picked it up from.
Don't let her catch you calling her old.
I don't know if you guys got me blocked, but I can't share it. I can see it right here. It won't let me share it for some reason. Oh, wait 1 second. Let's see if I can get a name stop screen. Yeah, it says it should be popping up there, but it's not showing. Look on my window there, Dave, and you'll see my picture, my profile, where you click me in, and right beside it says Leon, and then it has the video. Can you see it there?
And did you hit
right
stop
below
share, Dave?
You want me what now?
Did you hit stop share?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait. There it is. I had to scroll down some. Add to stream. There you go.
Nice.
There we go.
And so right there is where it starts. So you just push on click there. Turn up the volume first because it might be actually shut off on the video, YouTube video. Oh, do I have to do that? Maybe I have to.
I think it is.
Oh my God, this is so complicated. You're right, Dave. This is so complicated. Holy smoly.
I am so happy you're having some difficulty with it.
Well, to be fair, Dave, this is the first time you've tried the live thing.
Yes,
That's what
it
tonight
is.
was partly about.
Let you guys know everything else has been, me and Cornell's show, but Cornell's been the brains behind all of the technical stuff. I've just been kind of the other guy on there that also talks.
Well, I don't know, man.
Well,
You have control of it. I can't seem to. I still don't have access to it yet. So.
Oh,
So if
wait,
you
who's sharing?
Well, I was sharing. He freed up my video. He's got my video, but I'm still blocked in order to turn it on or anything. So
now, what do I have to do?
You should just push play on the video.
Yeah. Right on the
On
screen.
the video itself?
Yeah.
No, it's not letting me do that.
Steve, any suggestions?
Maybe go into the background that you have opened up on it and hit play there. Not on the StreamYard screen.
Yeah, Leon.
All right, quit yelling.
There you go.
It's
There
work.
you go. And you can hit full screen too, but I'm not going to make you do that. There you go. Nice. This is great. I like this stuff.
Right at the top there. There he is right there. Yeah. I think he's trying to paddle zoomed footage. Good. That would be helpful.
He's killing a snake right there.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
What a shitty existence.
He doesn't have to pay for a mortgage.
Yeah, maybe snake tastes like chicken.
Maybe.
I have to find it first, though. I guess this is Mississippi or.
I would not want. That's Florida, isn't it? Or is it?
Oh yeah, Florida.
Yeah, Lettuce Lake is near the Green Swamp. That's Matt Larson's area.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not hoaxed, it's a Bigfoot.
Well, that would make sense.
Well, I mean, it's not a misidentification. Thing's walking around on two legs.
Well, in the swamp with snakes, I don't know. Most people
in the
would be a little
swamp with
stupid.
snake. I mean,
If it's a
Right.
person,
It's a person,
they're
they're
either a
moron.
moron or completely insane. They're walking, swimming, and diving in the area where there are hundreds of
Matt M.
Hey, that's
I
Matt.
wonder who that.
This is Matt.
Matt who?
Moneymaker? Or our Matt?
No,
No,
It's
our
Matt
Matt.
M,
Matt L.
so not Matt L.
Matt's on the other channel right now. He's
know.
on with Pat right now, and Brent.
But Matt Larson was making the observation that people would be idiots to be walking around the Florida swamps barefoot because of snakes and all of the other stuff around there. And then he found that his barefoot footprints led all the way back to the camp on another trail.
Huh.
Well, the weird thing is there's no narration to the video. That's a concern.
Right.
There's not a, oh my God, what the hell is that? Pulls the camera up, starts the camera and says, holy shit, you guys, look at this. There's no narration at all. That's a little suspicious to me. It's also shallow water, so it's not that big of a deal. Two people with kayaks and they had an outfit and they're filming from a depth there. They could walk over. Yes, there could be snakes in the water. They just have to wear snake extender, not pads, but sleeves on their legs. They might know the area quite well, you know. when like the weird thing too is we always project onto areas our information from our areas, thinking we would know that area. But people who live in that area know the area quite well. They know, could know the area quite well, and so they, it could be hoaxed for sure. But it's interesting for sure. So
and it looks very in the middle of a mess swamp there, but we don't know how far it actually was from a cabin or something either.
Mountain Beast has recently went into encounter stories. I don't know when he started doing that, but it was all about him hiking, and all of a sudden he's doing encounter stories every week now.
Right. Well, that's where
y'all familiar with that video, Mountain Beast Mysteries, good video, labeled it was stalking them.
I think I saw that.
Well, I can understand with the severe winters up there, going to indoor activities for a few months out of the year.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. I've walked right up to a deer before, for sure.
Provo Bigfoot vid by campers when it stood up was spectacular, in my opinion. Hey, I was wanted to say this, Cornell. I think I already told you, but the other night, and I think it was this gentleman here, Bruce Beaver, brought it up, something about if Thomas put his address, maybe somebody would mail him some cherry Cavendish pipe tobacco.
Yeah,
I got an email today from a subscriber that said, "Hey, thanks for having Thomas on there. I'm glad you and Cornell were on the same page there." And I mailed him, I think he said 3 packages of that pipe tobacco. So,
and hopefully
you
marked them as a gift.
Yes, and marked them as a gift.
Yes, he said that. He said that.
Yeah, he said label it gift. But it's like, man, if he gets a lot of pipe tobacco out of that, he'll really want to come back on our show.
I wanted to spin back to something that JC mentioned a couple chats ago, not the one from 733, but before that.
On this show?
This show, yeah.
Okay.
Let me scroll back.
Which one? The sexual dimorphism, or?
Yes.
Okay.
There are a couple of things that I've observed looking at genetics when I was learning about DNA and looking at genetics and different species of primates, that most primates don't have feet shaped the way our feet are shaped. A lot of them have feet shaped more like the way our hand is shaped, where their big toe is more of a thumb than a big toe. Sasquatch footprints are a lot like ours, and there aren't very many primates that do that. The other thing that seems to be true is their females seem to develop breasts, and most primates need to get pregnant to develop breasts. So these are two things that would lead someone to expect, in a genetic comparison of, finding that unknown primate. Well, that unknown primate is going to be a lot closer to human than a lot of other primates, because of indications like this. If DNA works for them the same way it works for every other animal on the planet.
Yeah. But I mean, I
was just going to add on a side note, human beings are the only ones whose genital males are exceptionally long than normal for the body. So there's something about that as well. Because other primates don't want to get into it too much.
Right.
Just say elongated certain areas of the male parts
well,
of the body.
This is a scientific discussion here. But, about like that.
Which means it's evolved that way for appeal to the eye of the other gender. So,
but like the breasts on Patty and stuff, like in say an orangutan or gorilla, they don't have breasts like that.
They will Patty when they're nursing young. After they're nursing young, they deflate.
Yeah, but not to that extent. Like Pat, I mean, Patty is quite well endowed.
Yeah, but the body structure is different.
See how I was complimentary to Patty there, Cornell.
Yeah, and isn't that why male humans generally go for big breasts, because it means that they're I don't know what the psychology behind it is. Because they're
you're walking on some thin ice there, buddy. You better be careful.
Because they're closer to being able to conceive or something.
There's a lot of cultural bias to that, Cornell.
Oh, really?
Not to mention, there's clinical reasons why men are attracted to big breasts in women. It's a developmental stage that was lacking. So just let you know that part as well.
Okay, I'm getting awfully warm in here. Any other topic you want to talk about, like shopping at Walmart with Sasquatch or something? Like Christmas is coming, and hips is coming.
No, it looks like we're on anatomy here. Bruce said, and hips.
Yeah.
And shoulders for men.
Well, I mean, it goes back to, imagine if we found one. All this stuff would be fantastic information to finally find out.
Oh, what I was going to say, what Leon touched on, how there's so many things under wraps in these museums that have not even been looked at or studied or put on.
Well, that was Thomas. He had a very good
Thomas.
Thomas,
boxes of stuff.
I mean, they could have the proof in there and not even know it. I mean, myself, and I say amateur on the very amateur thing in paleontology. I love digging up stuff like that. Trilobites. There's south of me, Claritas, one of the best places to find trilobites in the world. And I've been in museums. Just the one down at Broken Bow, he's got things in boxes in here. He doesn't even know what all he's got. And just on a small scale, what would, these big museum of natural history, what would they have in their basements, so to speak?
Yeah.
This is huge.
And it's not conspiracy or anything like that. It's just they've got so much stuff and they haven't had time to go through a lot of stuff.
Manpower.
Been to the monkey house lately? I have not. Change the subject. Suggestions. Questions answered by Patterson Gimlin versus questions created by Patterson Gimlin. It's a toss-up. Unsure if I would have had any interest in Sasquatch or knowledge despite the issues.
Yeah, I don't think
so.
We should... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say. So, what are some of these questions, and what? That's a good question there. Go ahead.
Well, the question that I have that's suspicious to me is before he did the film, he did his book, he did a Sasquatch that was a female Sasquatch. He's got a 50-50 chance, maybe, if the population is divided that way. Or maybe a higher percentage, because a lot of times there's more females than males in species. So, but there's something about that bugs me a little bit. That he would do a book, and in the book it shows a hunter. The picture's been taken by some other guy, or who drew it was from another guy that drew it for him, and it happens to have breasts on it. So the idea is forefront in his mind if you were to come up with something like that. I think problem too with people is, as much as people say all the time, well, they couldn't have had the technology back then. They don't need the technology. They just need the right guy who's creative enough to design something like that. And, we're looking at it from a distance. It could be real fur from somebody who knows what they're doing. I'm not saying it's yes. Thanks, Steve. I'm not saying it's not real, but I mean, again, it's like that other video. If you're going to film one, it's probably going to look something like that.
Yeah. Well, remember, Patterson was doing a Bigfoot documentary of that era, and that would always require some sort of dramatization. So the fact that he had arranged to have a suit is not at all surprising and really not at all damning. But gosh, it is a coincidence.
Yeah, it is a coincidence. I don't buy the idea of the answer to the book Bigfoot are in the book of Revelation. They're demonic beings. I don't buy that. No. The reason why let me finish this one. I won't get too political. I'm fairly versed in theology, Greek and Hebrew. And the book of Revelations has, in evangelical circles, is not the correct generalization interpretation of what that book's all about. That's all I'll say about that. Most people believe they know more, but they usually know either street theology, and that's what you usually would get over your general conversation in any city, over your Christian perspective. You're certainly not theologically trained to understand what those verses are talking about. Not specifically saying that to Lampstand Ministries either. I'm just saying that in general. There's lots of good theologians that would.
I can actually run with that a little bit because I actually have been to a seminary in the past.
Get out of here.
No, I'm not. There's a reason. And I have actually been a minister in the past.
What?
No, okay. I'm not kidding.
I'm not joking. I'm not joking, yeah.
And the seminary that I went to was sponsored by Church in Oklahoma City, and it was an independent Baptist, which is extremely fundamentalist. So I know the fundamentalist side of all that as well. I very much believe in God, but I've totally rejected that mindset about it. And again, I'm not saying this as a put down, as Leon said, to Lampstand Ministries at all. But as someone who has read scripture and studied it, and I don't read Greek or Hebrew, but just from that standpoint, even from a fundamentalist standpoint, which I am not anymore, I don't see where you can pull Bigfoot out of the book of Revelation. And I would certainly sincerely like to know where you think that can be found in the book of Revelation. And I think that is going off into the probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lampstand Ministries. Are you leaning toward the whole Nephilim theory that's fairly recent? That I believe Scott Carpenter came up with that, because if we are going there with Genesis chapter 6 about the Nephilim, these were the giants in that day, the mighty men of old, men of renown. I believe that those were pretty much the same thing talked about in like Greek mythology, like Hercules and such. They were the offspring of a god, little g, and a human woman that produced these mighty heroes. That's what I gather from the Genesis look at what the Nephilim were. And I don't see how that transforms into the hairy, stinky primate that runs around in the woods today.
Well, the funny thing is you're not hearing reports over in Israel about that.
Right.
Sasquatch, Nephilims have been spotted up in the mountains here.
Let me be very clear. I do not think that these creatures are in any way Nephilim or those things talked about in the Bible. But I really am interested in, well, I was lost in my thoughts there. Lampstand Ministry, I don't know if you're a he or she, so I can't say. Read the book of Revelations. After listening to hundreds of testimonials from their eyes glowing and orbs floating above their heads, and some testimonies even changing into black crow beings. Okay, that's still...
I'm pretty sure nowhere in Revelation does it talk about a big hairy thing that eventually shifts into a big black crow being. And I'm pretty sure
it absolutely does not.
Okay, so the other thing too is what people have a tendency to do, and I don't blame people, unfortunately, but it's just how sometimes we think. Do you mind just popping that down there a bit so I'm not kind of blocked when I'm sharing this?
Wait a minute. Let me get back to it. Okay.
Okay, so if you get an idea that's influenced outside of what the actual topic is, when you're dealing with a topic that's not quite well understood, you go into the scientific method. And the scientific method is when you take those ideas and you formulate a concept or idea and you put it on to the topic. But it doesn't mean it's factual. It may feel factual to you. The narration might feel close to what you believe to be true, but it doesn't make it factual. It's still subjective. The scientific method, unlike the scientific method, is you have the topic down here, and the next building block starts off the topic. That's how we know that what we're on in regards to coming up with a healthy hypothesis or a healthy perspective on an idea. It's built on the actual topic. The next one's built on the topic. So all four of us could go back and see why that would be built on it and look at it, and we'd get the same conclusion. But we find a bit of a cascade effect on the online scene with the scientific approach, which is we have a lot of concepts and ideas that feel right to us. We've heard a lot of the same things from outside sources, so that makes more people, it must be more true, have more validity to it because more people are talking about it. And then so we put that on to the topic. If you want to put it in Christian terms, okay, so depending on which Christian tradition you come out of, which is over 32,000 of them.
Lots.
Yeah. So who has the closest definition or interpretation of Scripture? Well, if you talk to each of those, everyone's going to say, well, we do, or we believe we're the closest to it, or whatever like that. So it's kind of like if you looked at the book of Matthew, Mark, and Luke and John, street theology, if you asked any Christian, who wrote Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, then they would say Matthew, Mark, and Luke and John did. But Matthew, Mark, and Luke and John didn't write those books. How would you know that, Leon? Well, the next question you would ask is, what if Matthew, Mark, and Luke and John were fairly close to the time period of when Jesus was around? What language did Jesus speak? What language did the disciples speak? His own disciples. A lot of people would say, well, Greek, but they didn't. They spoke Arabic. So how is it that people are using Koinonia Greek? This is the New Testament's written in Koinonia Greek, which is a very high education, fancy-dancy part of society would know this, because the literacy rate during that time is less than 1%, meaning that less than even the 1% mark could write it. A bit more than the 1%, or including that 1%, could read it, but they couldn't write it. So there's a huge... Sorry?
On the Gospels, when we look at them in the New Testament, is the Gospel according to Matthew, according to John. The more accurate way to say that would be the Gospel assigned to Matthew, assigned to.
That's correct.
Because they didn't know. They were not... Now, some of the letters, some of the epistles were actually by Paul, by Tim, whatever. But the Gospels were not. And
some of them were, again, Peter. I mean, you got the book of Peter. There you got more than one book of Peter. Well, it causes problems. And I don't want to get into a theology thing, but it is a great thing for understanding systems when you look at the Bigfoot community, how you can do a kind of a comparison with the Christian community, which is, okay, Peter wrote 2 books. Well, how could Peter write 2 books when he tells us in Acts that he's not literate? He also became literate in the most sophisticated language of Koinonia Greek over a few years. I don't know many people who can do that, So it's, again, it's not a personal attack on anything. It's just that we are vulnerable in regards to human beings and regarding belief systems. And depending on which belief system you're born in, is going to prime your thinking to believe that yours is more closer to the truth. You have a lot invested in it. You have your family invested in it. You have your whole life invested in it. You have your friends invested in it. So it's pretty tough when you're trying to negotiate what the facts are. Extreme case on the other side of that. I've dealt with a lot of people in cults. Imagine being raised in a cult, your family's in a cult, everyone believes the same thing, and you realize there's something really seriously wrong. You're going to have to give up your family, maybe your wife, maybe your kids, to escape that cult. Not saying Christianity is a cult, because it's not a cult. It's not categories of cults, categories of religion. Not talking about that, but just talking about when you become awakened in a system, doesn't matter what system it is, you can't pretend anymore. So you either have to drink the Kool-Aid of the system and totally go fundamentalist in it, or you will make an escape plan and exit it. And that's a pretty courageous move to do if you have to do that. And that's kind of like what people have to do online in regards to your Bigfoot channel. Do you want to know what you're looking at or don't you? Do you want to be academically trained, educated in the forest, understand what is in the forest, or don't you? There's no use spouting on ideas that you might know, but you owe it to your viewers, because they trust you, to make sure you've checked out as much as you can. So sorry, you guys, I kind of took that for a ride.
No,
that's interesting.
Not to rain on this, but this is actually things here that Lampstand is bringing up, and I'm not trying to pick on you at all. I welcome your comments here, and thanks for taking part. However, I disagree a lot. As the seals are open, these beings will manifest themselves, kill and torture everybody in the world, blah, blah. Anyway, but still, there's nothing in that points to anything about Bigfoot. And here, when you go into that, as Leon was talking about, there are almost different segments in this community, if you will, and think very different. To me, a lot of that's going more into the paranormal. And there is an aspect of people that do put it into that category. Lampstand, I would, if you don't mind, what denomination are you a part of, or any, respectfully?
Now, my observation is that the most evil creatures in this world are us.
Absolutely. I totally 100% agree. We are.
Now, I would love to spin this back.
We're the
to
monster
Bigfoot
in the woods. Absolutely.
Yeah. And JC at 745 asked about confrontation, citing two cases where there was certainly a confrontation with the encounter. It's been my observation with Bigfoot encounters where there's actually a sighting. They see the person who may have somehow managed to sneak up on them, or who knows why there was a relatively close visual encounter, but they see the person and snort or huff or stomp and turn around and walk away. So Patterson Gimlin by far wasn't the only one that didn't actually have a real confrontation encounter. Jeff Harding was running up a hill in the general direction of one that had probably tried to warn him to stop and turn around, given his description of the encounter. And when he didn't stop or turn around, then it stood up and then it threw something at him. Patrick's an interesting story, and I think that when he decided to beat feet back for his truck, the one that he encountered was thinking, oh, it's a game of chase. And it paced him back. There's no way he could have outrun that creature for that distance, given what is generally believed to be their attributes for being able to run. But somehow it stayed just a short distance behind him for most of that trip out.
Wow.
Hey, I've got something. This is squarely in the Bigfoot thing. I've seen and been asked this before. A fella came in the store and said, there are 4 different species of Bigfoot.
Sure.
I'm sure you've seen that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Sounds like a
One of
banjo
them has
song. Sounds like a banjo song to me. Ding, 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 gonna tell you a story about the 4. Never mind, forget it.
That's a good movie.
Hey,
Leon.
guys, we got to get Leon that puppet, because
I've got one. You don't have to get me one. I got one. I'll try to remember it next time I'm online. I can take the skeleton back here and make his mouth move up and down if you want.
But yeah, that's actually been a topic that the ones in Pacific Northwest are quite different than the ones that people report down here in the South and so forth.
I'm not really convinced they're necessarily all that different.
Okay.
Different body types, maybe because of the diet and stuff.
Sure. Geography as well.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah, geography could do that.
Well, yeah. 100,000 years ago, there were 6 or 7 different species of Homo sapiens, or similar to Homo sapiens.
Homo.
Yeah.
He was only making a point.
They were very happy back in those days.
Well, we used to think Neanderthals died out, and now we find out that a lot of us are carrying their DNA.
Well, we just brought them into the family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a ton of traces.
We didn't kill the competition.
I mean, I've always wondered, did Neanderthals, some of their women look pretty, or were there Neanderthal men clubbing the Homo sapien women in the head and dragging them off, like in the old comic books?
Probably some of both.
Or what about Denisovans? How many more are out there that we have not discovered yet?
5 or 6.
But, hey, speaking of Neanderthal,
there are in our DNA right now, there are 6 different species that we can identify that we have no fossil remains for. They're ghost DNA.
Really?
Explain that a bit more, Steve.
So looking at the human population, there are different population groups, and this is how we found that some percentage of people have Neanderthal DNA. Well, other percentages of people have DNA that come from other things that we haven't found fossil remains for, but they're there, they're distinct, they're identifiable, but they don't map to anything we've actually found in the dirt.
Interesting.
That's kind of a curious comment he just said there. He said he had, 93% more than the population in Neanderthal DNA?
Percentile, I think he means.
Is he talking about himself, is what I'm wondering.
I think so.
Is he? Well, I can't tell. I don't know intent from reading it. Are you being serious, or?
I have more Neanderthal
joking?
than 93% of the population. I have more Neanderthal than 93% of the population. So if he has more Neanderthal than 93% of the population, where's his ancestry from?
France?
We might. Don't give the answers away yet, Steve. Let's see what he says. JC, what do you have there? It's great to have brains, I'll tell you, in the chat and here. But it's great to have brains in the chat.
Yes, and actually it's only a fraction of the Y chromosome that is specific along inherited lines.
Yes.
Okay.
Why is there no fossil record of Sasquatch, and yet there are to this date no fossils of chimpanzees? Leon?
They were shopping that day. And so it's like the shelves right now. Apocalypse coming. Meteor's about to hit. You got to get to the grocery store. You got to clean out everything. They were in the grocery store when it happened, so they all survived. That's my best analogy.
Yeah. So the other thing I'd ask is for clarification. Do you mean bones in the woods, or do you mean actual fossil remains, ancient fossil remains?
Because that will.
Fossils are extremely rare. How many billions of humans of all the variations have existed throughout all of time, and how many fossil remains do we actually have?
And again, as Thomas Steenberg said the other night, they may have something in the museum that we just don't know about yet. Which that's would be neat.
Yeah, but it doesn't help. Even if they did, it's not going to help us because they're going to be still in the museums another 100 years from now until somebody opens up some kind of box and goes, "Oh, what's this? This is interesting."
Some grad student gets a grant and spends the money sorting out what's in the museum.
Like Erica, maybe she'll get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd be a good one to find it for sure. Healthy skeptic that's interested in Bigfoot. So.
Yeah. Here's blue line Bigfoot, and I tell you, I've read enough that I can kind of tell he spells in a very unique way. I could while away the hours conferring with that, consulting with that. Is that music notes?
No. I don't know what that is.
I think he's talking about reflecting on an idea. So I don't know what idea made us stir him to say that.
Yeah, here's a good point. Here, fossils in jungle areas are even rarer. Like I say, my favorite fossils to dig for, and that's because they're not too far from here, are trilobites. Matter of fact, there's a place they call Black Cat Mountain out here that a friend of mine, Bob, has, and he makes his living preparing these fossils. And there have been 2 or 3 previously unknown species of trilobite that he's dug up there, and one of them is even scientifically named after him now. So there's no dinosaurs where I'm at. You got to go further east or west.
I think what generally has to happen in a jungle or a savanna to get fossils is they have to be buried fairly deeply and fairly quickly, or scavengers are going to disarticulate everything.
So like buried very quickly, avalanche or a meteor strike,
or
lava
flood
flow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah,
not necessarily a lava flow, but ash.
Whoops.
Just a point of order there. Actually, 112 billion people have walked the planet of the Earth. That's why you're so important. No one's walked here like you. Let that soak in for a while. You have importance. Just saying.
That is.
Out of the 112 billion people, you're the only you that's walked the bloody planet. So do the best you can. No one else can. So
I'm gonna sleep on that tonight.
Oh, that's good.
Crinoids galore. Yeah. Of course, where I'm at, this is Carboniferous down here, which, you got Mississippian and Pennsylvania in the Carboniferous strata. Where I'm at is Pennsylvanian. Where I'm sitting, you go north of me about 20 miles and you can find a lot of crinoids there. Now, you go down to where I was saying the Black Cat Mountain, you get into a lot of Devonian stuff. And the trilobites found in the Devonian strata, you can really shape that stuff. You can dig them out really easy. Yeah, here's a good point here. Fossils are forming at Mount St. Helens. I bet they are. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at JC's comment, but I don't want to say it because it brings us back in a full circle into a topic we shouldn't speak about. But I'm going to say it anyways because she doesn't mean it that way. She means it scientifically. We can thank porcupines for a few things, including some fossils out of Asia. Thank you, JC.
So there are porcupine fossils out of Asia?
Apparently so.
Well,
right.
They will chew on bones, and they will drag bones into where they live and sometimes not eat them all.
And then so they can get the DNA or the animal species that were in the area if they can find where porcupines would burrow into. So, and there's I think, Steve, wasn't there an article that came around, circulated last month there about the evidence for finding a source Sasquatch was in porcupine burrows and caves or hollows or whatever because of that reason?
I remember someone saying something about that. It wasn't necessarily recent, but that would likely be a good place to look.
Right.
Although I kind of liked Jeff Harding's idea for capturing mosquitoes They're indiscriminate feeders. Catch a couple thousand mosquitoes in the backwoods of Minnesota. Couple of them had to bite a Bigfoot if they're out there.
Ah.
Okay.
Well, the problem is there's billions of them, though. You'd have to get the right couple of thousand, right? So
okay, now
DNA,
I don't know a lot
blend it all together.
Yeah, totally.
That big mush.
Steve and Leon, you guys probably know a lot more about this than me, but in order to make a DNA match, don't you have to have a DNA specimen to match it too, though?
No, you can measure the sequence of DNA, and that DNA exists. What DNA won't tell you is when it was left there. So let's say we find some authentic Sasquatch DNA in the dirt in Oklahoma. And what we can do is we can sequence it, we can match it to everything that we know right now, and it would most likely match up, somewhere on primates, probably pretty close to humans, maybe even almost indistinguishable in many ways from humans, because our DNA is only about 2% different from chimps. And I was listening actually to a really great comparison. We're 2% different from chimps. Say, on a scale of intelligence, how different do you think we are from chimps?
A lot more than 2%.
2%.
We'd sure like to think it, but just think for a moment that we're only 2% smarter than chimps.
Yeah.
The people out there flying spaceships, now consider on that scale, they're just 2% smarter than us, in the same way that we're just 2% smarter than chimps.
Oh, that's a great point, Steve. Yeah.
But we'd be able to match up the DNA and see where it fits on the phylogenetic tree as a life form. But we wouldn't know if it was 20 years old or 20,000 years old. For that, you kind of need to get the sample off the creature.
To answer this fella, P.S. Nielsey, no, I've never been to Pennsylvania. Never have. Okay, Steve, how many chromosomes does Sasquatch have?
Haven't seen the DNA.
Oh, come on. You were doing
Ketchum.
You were going so good there. Couldn't you even just made something up?
No, because he's not that way. That's what I like about him. He's solid.
Yeah. DNA. Here's a good.
I will not try to bluff my way through a conversation. DNA doesn't last all that long in the environment, yet we have environmental DNA from mastodons that we're finding in Alaska. So large enough fragments last to identify species fairly clearly.
Matter of fact, they're in South Korea. They are working on trying to clone a mammoth or a mammoth, I believe.
Yeah,
they did they're collecting the DNA from them to try to, and that's going to be a long drawn out process of mixing it in with African elephants. And after so many, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, they made a movie about that.
Yeah.
It worked out really well.
About it?
Oh,
you're talking Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know that if we could do it, we would actually do it just because we could.
Oh yeah.
It's
that was
like
the whole point of the movie.
Yeah. Well, like the first atomic bomb, when they tested it, they were not totally sure that it wouldn't cause a chain reaction that would completely destroy everything. Yet they did it.
They weren't completely sure, but they were pretty sure.
They were shocked at how powerful it was, though.
Yeah.
We're pretty sure it won't destroy the world, so let's do it. Let's see. Frozen.
Guys, I got to juke out here. It's getting really late where I am. I got an early start.
Oh, you can hang in there for 15 minutes. What are you talking about? You guys always bring us on.
Okay, here you go. Back to
okay, I can do 15.
Steve, yeah, I can do 15. That'll get us at 2 hours.
Okay.
If as you brought up Melba, I don't know her. I know she supposedly collected or has DNA of a Sasquatch and stuff. If, as she states, the DNA is a human female and unknown male, would it be 46, 23, and 23?
Well, I have a 3-video series on DNA that runs about an hour and a half, and I can't get much shorter than that, so I'd suggest watch those videos. But Melba may have extracted mitochondrial DNA in possibly 8 of those specimens, but not distinctly enough to make sense. Dr. Hart, Dr. Haskell Hart has explained a lot about this, and he wrote a book about that. Don't judge that book by its cover. The cover was
bad cover, totally. Yeah.
But he doesn't mean there's no Sasquatch. He just means there's no Sasquatch in that DNA.
That's right.
Yeah,
but
actually,
there were 8 samples that could have had something interesting, and they have more mutations than would be normal from a human population. That could be from contamination due to decay, or it could be because there was something similar to human but not quite human in there. The attempt to extract chromosome 11 that she did was a complete and total failure, and she didn't try to extract all of the DNA. She only tried to extract chromosome 11. She only got about 5%, which kind of works with the idea of the primers that she used were human primers, and they would attach to what was close enough to human in the sample that was there, and it pretty much proves that it was not human.
Yeah, and supposedly, unfortunately, doesn't mean factual, and she didn't get that right. So there's not, there's lots of people who've looked at the study.
Absolutely, the chromosome 11 didn't match any primate. It didn't match anything at all. And her own pictures, the X-ray chromatography that they did of the DNA basically proves the case for contamination of those samples.
See, that's why it's great to have great brains.
So, Steve, you actually know a little about DNA then?
Oh, yeah.
I took it upon myself to learn why all of this craziness was going on. So I ended up learning quite a bit about it. I started off by talking to friends who worked on developing the first Sanger sequencers and learning how the chemistry and how DNA sequencing works and how to do alignment matching and things like that, which is how I know we can do alignment checks on unknown DNA and find out what sort of animal it probably was. And then I learned a lot more specifically about the Ketchum project, talking to Dr. Meldrum and Dr. Hart.
Okay.
And before this little public health crisis came down, I was real close to thinking about the idea. I was doing pricing out to see how much it would cost to actually set up a small DNA lab. Because I was actually working with a fellow who is doing a DNA project. He is doing DNA fingerprinting on fungi of Washington, because no one has a catalog of that. He's doing it in his spare bathroom.
The problem again online is, I mean, look, you talk to somebody who does mumbo jumbo, pseudopsychology or pseudoscience, and they're using a whole bunch of scientific terms. I mean, what do we know about science? I mean, that's why I rely on Steve, because he knows stuff way beyond what I know. But the nice thing is, it's not just that he knows the truth about it. He's also effective with knowing how to educate people, of helping them to understand why something isn't correct. And I find a lot of times online this whole idea of I have the truth, but they have the truth, but they don't have
the effectiveness of knowing how to articulate it to people. So it causes a lot of division and confusion. And I mean, I don't know lots about DNA. Talk to me about the brain. I know quite a bit about the brain and how it works and all that kind of stuff. And that's why it's great to have allies and different people who are qualified in different areas so that we can ask them just great questions like this and not be afraid or anything like that. And I think appreciate your channel, Dave, what you're doing here and what Cornell's doing, and Pat and Brent and Matt and Sean and Steve. You know, the nice thing is we can actually have these conversations without feeling so bloody threatened by everything, and that's such a refreshing environment.
Well, that's the way it should be. I mean, if we're actually researching something honestly and trying to find out the truth.
Yeah. Now I'll go out on a limb for Bombastic Buster and say I would expect that if we sequence Sasquatch DNA, I would expect we would probably find 46 chromosomes. But that's because their hands look like these, their feet look like ours. There are so many traits about them that are so close to us that they would be closer to us than chimpanzees.
Yep.
And
you're the only one
talking about sequencing fungi and stuff, but the chemistry, the chemistry is essentially the same. And what this fellow that I was working with does is he does the chemistry. He does the PCRs at home. He doesn't do the sequencing. He does the PCRs, and then he sends the processed samples to a lab and has them sequence it.
Wow. Well, yeah, you were saying how Dr. Hart's book, which I've got a copy of and I've read, and first admit when he gets into all those graphs and stuff, I don't know anything.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You know, that is so far over my head.
Charlie Brown cartoon.
At the same time, he actually had a sighting of a Sasquatch here in Oklahoma. So he's not saying there's no such thing as Sasquatch. He just doesn't. Now, if I'm remembering right, there were a couple of the samples that Ketchum had that he's not sure about, if I'm remembering that correctly.
There are as many as 8 that that may be interesting.
Right. But yeah, he actually saw a Sasquatch down in a place they call Area X. It's actually a wildlife preserve down in the Ouachita Mountains.
Well, there are so many Area X's. Which Area X?
The one in Oklahoma.
Everyone has an Area X.
Yeah.
Is he
you know why?
Richter's videos?
You know why? Because Area X sounds much cooler than Area B or C.
Yeah, X.
And it marks the spot.
Yeah.
And they leave X's. It only makes sense, you guys. They are real. The truth is out there. As
Yes,
Professor Simon would
Yes,
say.
I admit that Camp Charlie doesn't sound as exciting as Area X, but boy, there are some interesting things that happen around Charlie.
And I've actually, the place that he had that sighting, I've actually been down there several times. It's been several years, but the way that you used to go down to get there, a friend of mine that bear hunts down close to there, he says, "Oh, you can't get down there that way anymore." And I said, "Have you ever seen a Bigfoot down there?" And he said, "No," but he said, "I have ran into some Bigfoot hunters down there before." So
I mean, if we could move to what Bruce Beaver's talking about here is about learning and having fun. If we could move to that way of education, man, it would just wipe out a lot of this garbage that everyone's so seriously involved in. Like, oh my gosh, like why is it such a big plight that I make a mistake? Every time I've made a mistake, every time anybody's made a mistake, including us four, if you're around a campfire 10 years after the mistake, you're laughing about the mistake. it's a humor thing.
Absolutely.
It's not about a bad thing. It's like, you're going to learn, you're not going to get it off the target or off the mark right off the bat. And I was talking to one of my clients.
I spent years working at a local science museum doing science demonstrations. So yeah, I have all of that in me. It's hard to get me to cuss in these forums because I spent 15 years talking to the public in a science museum. Those words aren't in my presentations.
Yes. And unfortunately, they are in mine when I'm frustrated by data that is absolute garbage because I can't pretend anymore. And it's not about personally attack. It's frustration above all frustration. I can't pretend that what's out here, that it's helping people. It's not helping us. It's okay to move on. It's okay to go to the other side of the crest. Let's see what's over there. Probably creativity, vitality, and spontaneity instead of rigidity, control, and power of my opinion. You must listen to me or I will delete you. It's like, okay.
That's why I came over. I came over just to see what the gossip was about Borkygate at first. And I'm like, hold on a second. Okay. These guys are bringing up some great points. And then before I knew it, I was on the same page as you. The same YouTube channel.
You're following the dark path.
Yeah. I just found it much more interesting.
Anna here paid a wonderful compliment. I don't know who is the geniuses she's referring to. I'm assuming it's Leon and Steve.
It's not me. So. I'm learning as I go here.
Hey, Leon, we're getting away with it.
I told you they were gullible. I don't think, Anna, don't you feel at all like you said at the beginning there? You pulled it off too quick, so I didn't get a chance to read it there. I think we're all in the same boat. We just want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's just nice that we have a soil. Soil's a good word for it, where we can learn and grow and talk about stuff and figure out what is going on. That's the hard part, is when people don't want to see what's going on. We just can't move forward, and it's just going to frustrate people. No meat and potatoes on the bone there, unfortunately. Well, not that potatoes grow on bone. Don't get me wrong. Potatoes do not grow on bones, but just saying, it's for dinner kind of analogy. Okay, it's getting pretty late. I think my brain cells are gone. I got about 3 minutes left for me.
Yeah, it is late. Steve, Leon, appreciate you guys coming on. I've learned a lot tonight.
You guys have a great channel. It's fun. It's good to hang out with you.
Cornell, as always, enjoy. Thanks everybody in the chat.
I think Cornell's batteries are running down.
Throwing your hat in the ring. Appreciate all of it. No, you got to get up. I'll get up early anyway.
He's been flying around in that X Fighter for about 4 days now. From what I've seen online, I was like, man, you must be tired.
I'm keeping this. I like it.
I guess I'm going to have to get a spaceship if I'm going to keep doing this. I'm feeling kind of out of place here.
I don't. No, you don't.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Have you noticed on the screen, we've got just the plain old backgrounds behind two of us and spaceships behind the other side.
Well, you can put more like nature backgrounds and stuff too.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Kumbaya stuff. Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
Well, at least you have some stuff in your background. For me, it's just like a wall.
Yeah. Well, I learned some things tonight. Learned a lot from Steve and Leon, and I learned how to put a picture on the screen here. So
that's a good thing.
Hey,
you'll be a wizard in no time.
Yep.
There's Red Dirt Cryptid. Brian, there, he's got a channel. He's from Oklahoma as well. You missed it here, but you can watch it on my channel later. Guys, appreciate it. We're going to call it quits right now.